DeepSeek V3.1 has just arrived, and it is massive. 685 billion parameters, bigger than most frontier models out there. It scored 71.6% on coding benchmarks, edging past Claude Opus 4 while running 68 times cheaper than GPT-5. A task that cost $70 on American systems can now be done for just $1. The model is open source, free to download, and combines hybrid reasoning with instant responses in a single system. Even more surprising, it is already optimized for Chinese chips that have not been released yet. This is not just another AI drop, it is a direct strike at Silicon Valley's dominance, and it could change the balance of power in AI forever. But raw scale is not the only thing that makes V3.1 stand out. The architecture is different. They call it a hybrid system. It combines both thinking mode, where the model slows down and reasons step by step, and non-thinking mode, where it spits out fast answers. Other companies have tried this before, like Alibaba with its Quinn models, but the performance usually collapsed. DeepSeek seems to have cracked the code. Benchmarks show its reasoning mode hitting 88% on AIME 2025, a math test designed to torture large models, while the fast mode is still accurate enough for quick responses. And here is where things get strange. Some developers digging into the model claim they found hidden tokens, special commands buried in the architecture. These tokens seem to let the model browse the web in real time and trigger internal thinking processes. If that is true, then DeepSeek quietly solved problems that American labs have been wrestling with for years. How to merge reasoning, coding, and chat into one seamless AI brain. The context window is massive too, 128,000 tokens. That is about the length of a 400-page book. You can drop an entire software project into the prompt and it will actually handle it. And it runs fast. One of the biggest complaints with reasoning models is that they take forever, sometimes minutes to think through a hard problem. V3.1 cuts that way down, meaning it is actually usable in real-time applications. Now, you are probably thinking, all right, cool tech, but why does this matter beyond nerds comparing benchmark charts? Because timing and strategy matter. DeepSeek released V3.1 just weeks after OpenAI dropped GPT-5 and Anthropic unveiled Claude 4. Those launches were meant to set the bar for the year. DeepSeek's model shows up, matches their performance, and says, oh, by the way, ours is open source, free to download, and optimized for China's domestic chips. That is not coincidence. That is precision timing. Let us talk about those chips, because this is where the story tilts from technology into geopolitics. The model is optimized for something called UE8 M0FP8. It sounds like alphabet soup, but it is actually a huge deal. FP8 means 8-bit floating point precision, a way to store numbers in fewer bits so models can run faster and use less memory. For years, the industry standard was FP32, then FP16. Nvidia pushed FP8 on its H100 accelerators and showed it could double throughput and cut memory use in half without killing performance. But here is the catch. Nvidia's version of FP8 is not just a universal standard. They built their own optimizations into it. Special scaling tricks, instruction sets, hardware features that make it run beautifully on Nvidia GPUs, but not so great anywhere else. That locks developers into Nvidia's ecosystem. DeepSeek's UE8 M0FP8 is different. It is a variant designed specifically for China's domestic chips, which do not support Nvidia's quirks. It sacrifices some fine-grained precision to avoid overflows and instabilities, but the trade-off means Chinese GPUs can actually run these giant models reliably, and that is the real point. DeepSeek is future-proofing its models for chips that have not even hit the market yet. Rumors point to several candidates. There is the Magic Stone XEUNC 600 chip, launched earlier this year, which supports FP8 natively with a hybrid precision architecture. There is Inflame Technologies L600 chip, designed to handle both training and inference with FP8 acceleration. And then there is Huawei, the big wild card. DeepSeek has reportedly been working with Huawei's Ascend NPUs, though the current 910C model does not support FP8 natively. That hints at something new in the pipeline, a next generation of Huawei accelerators that could challenge Nvidia's dominance, at least inside China. The strategy makes sense when you remember the bigger picture. Washington has been tightening export restrictions, trying to choke China's access to Nvidia's best chips. By optimizing for domestic hardware, DeepSeek is not just shipping a model, it is sending a signal. China does not need American silicon to build frontier AI anymore. That is a huge shift in the balance of power, and the speed at which the community embraced V3.1 shows how little those geopolitical lines matter to developers. Within hours of release, the model shot up the Hugging Face trending charts. Researchers around the world were downloading it, testing it, praising its efficiency. Hugging Face's head of product even tweeted that Chinese models are dominating the platform's downloads. People do not care if the code came from Hangzhou or San Francisco. If it works better and costs less, they will use it. That puts American AI companies in a bind. Their whole business model is closed APIs, subscription access, and high margins. If open source models like DeepSeek's can match their performance, why would developers pay a premium? Especially when the cost difference is 68 times per coding task. That is not just cheaper, that is disruptive. The architecture itself makes this even more dramatic. V3.1 uses a mixture of experts' design with 671 billion total parameters, but only 37 billion active at a time. That means it can scale up for complex reasoning but stay efficient for normal use. This is the same principle behind GPT-4 and GPT-5, but here it is open source. On benchmarks like Live Code Bench, which tests coding ability, V3.1 scored 74.8% in thinking mode, higher than OpenAI's earlier releases. On SWE Bench, which measures how well models can act like autonomous agents, fixing software bugs, it scored 54.5% compared to 30.5% for its predecessor. Those are not small improvements, they are leaps. And the improvements are not just academic. In BrowseComp, a benchmark for autonomous browsing agents, V3.1 hit a score of 30, where its predecessor barely managed 9. That means it is not just good at answering questions, it is good at acting, pulling in external data, using tools, behaving like a real agent. If you have been following the rise of AI agents, you know that is where things get scary and powerful. Even the deployment model is different. All the weights are open, licensed under MIT. Anyone can download it, modify it, run it locally if they have got the GPUs, and if they do not, hosted versions will show up on the cloud. The model itself is massive, about 700 gigabytes, but that has not stopped the community before. The impact of this release goes beyond the benchmarks. It changes the economics of AI. For years, the biggest labs told the world that frontier models had to stay closed because they were too dangerous, too expensive, too scarce. DeepSeek just pulled the curtain back and said, actually, no, the scarcity was artificial, the intelligence is artificial, but the paywalls, those were too. And that brings us back to why this moment matters. The global AI race is not just about who can build the most powerful system, it is about who can make those systems accessible. Open source versus closed, public good versus proprietary lock-in. DeepSeek V3.1 did not just push the technology forward, it flipped the script on how that technology gets distributed. If you zoom out, this might be the moment where the competition between the United States and China in AI shifts from raw power to accessibility, and in that contest, artificial scarcity might be the biggest artificial intelligence of all. So here we are, a Chinese startup just matched GPT-5, released it for free, and optimized it for chips the West cannot even buy. Whether you see that as exciting progress or a dangerous escalation probably depends on where you are standing. But one thing is clear, the AI race just got a lot more interesting. That is all for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit subscribe if you have not already. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.